to another episode of Jadu Lifestyle podcast where you can get a life and live it too. As you know, and if you've been following us, we have been having guests with different expertise come on so that you could see what is out there and to know or to expand your horizon and your perspective so you can maybe add some things to your life. So today we actually have another amazing guest. Her name is Francesca Conaté. Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Very good. Very close. Francesca
Okay.
Conaté.
Okay. So we want to welcome Francesca to our
Thank
podcast
you.
today. One of the reasons that I asked her to come on is because
Mhm.
she has an amazing story. She's very, very inspiring. So, first of all, Francesca, welcome and tell us a little bit
Thank you
about you.
so much. Of course. Thank you so much. So I am, as you know, my name is Francesca Conaté. I was born and raised in California and grew up in the States, but always enjoyed traveling, always been an avid traveler, and decided that I wanted to actually live in another country. So I moved to Japan to teach English for 1 year, but ended up staying and living there for 13 years.
Okay, and one of
hmm
the things that intrigued me when I saw your bio or learned a little bit about you is how much you've had to overcome to be where you
Mm.
are. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. So what you're referring to more specifically is my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed with MS about 2 years ago, but I was managing the symptoms for about 12 years while I was actually living in Japan working full time. And at the time, I was having a heaviness in my right leg, which I later learned is called foot drop. Didn't realize what was going on because while I was living in Japan, I climbed Mount Fuji 2 times successfully. I skydived. On my holidays, I would go to Dubai and four-wheel drive. So I was very active, very happy, and just couldn't understand what was going on with my body. It got to the point about 6 years ago when I decided I needed to come back to the States and understand what was going on. Of course, the healthcare system in Japan is amazing, but I realized I needed the support of my family, of my friends, and I needed to do this in my own language. So went through several years of testing. Autoimmune diseases are very difficult to identify and isolate because it just requires so much testing. So it took me about 2 to 3 years. I took MRIs, I had a spinal tap, did all kinds of things before I was finally diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And at that time, that news, as you can imagine, was very devastating to me. I went from living my best life in Japan, teaching and traveling and meeting people, to now I'm back in America in my parents' home, sitting in my room, trying to understand how do I redefine my new normal? How do I operate within my new normal?
Okay. This is what intrigues me about you because in my work, I
hmm
do body work, and I early on when I started, I actually worked with people with MS and Parkinson's
Okay.
and
hmm
myasthenia gravis, a lot of neurological diseases. One, I
hmm
didn't really understand it, so I had to do a lot of research. Now, MS
Okay.
had a little bit of complicated symptoms. So I
hmm
had at one point I gave a talk to the MS support group and ended up with 17 MS patients. And I could tell you that every one of
Mm,
them had different symptoms. Some were
correct.
very severe and some were, you know, almost it seemed like they didn't have anything. So when
Correct.
when I read what some of the things that you were doing, I was like,
hmm
how is she doing this with a diagnosis of MS? And furthermore, for all that you've
hmm
accomplished, you're a
hmm
coach and a speaker, aren't you?
Yes, yes, I am.
Are
Those
you a
things
published author
can.
also?
I'm a published author in an anthology about women of color that were living in Asia. So I've shared that story. And now, what I'm working on right now is something where I'm sharing my experience. As I've said with you earlier, and your listeners don't know yet, I decided that the best thing I could do regarding multiple sclerosis was to just own it. It is my new reality. It is nothing for me to be ashamed of. This is not anything that diminishes me as a person. So taking multiple sclerosis or MS and rebranding it, so now I call it either it's my superpower, motivating strategies, my smile. this is who I am now. So I've learned to operate within my new, as I say, my new reality. For example, as you said, it impacts people in very different and profound ways. For me, it's more about my balance and my endurance, my ability to stand and walk. Right now, I use a cane to walk. I don't feel comfortable to drive, so that's something that I'm not doing anymore. But slowly, I started finding ways to find my tribe, and my tribe meaning other positive-minded people who are dealing with some type of chronic illness. And one of the things I did to be able to become more active was I learned about adaptive golf. Never played golf before, always thought it would be interesting, but that's a lot of walking. And now that I have more free time, I thought I definitely can't do it because it's too much. It's too much physical wear and tear on my body. Found something called adaptive golf, which means that they adapt to whatever your challenges are. There are people with spinal injuries. There are people who are paralyzed from the waist down. There are people with visual impairments, myself with MS and balance challenges. And they adapt. They adapt to whatever that is so that we can find our perfect swing, so that we can enjoy the sport, so that we can have camaraderie with each other. And that was really the beginning of me coming out of my shell to realize maybe I can't do the same things I did before, but I can do new things. I can do them in a different way. And I can meet people who are like me, and we can, for once, just relax, not feel we have to explain why I'm walking so slow, why I need to sit down. We can actually focus on enjoying ourselves, enjoying a new sport, being in the sunshine. And that's what started that whole process of it being a choice. Me having MS was not a choice. How I process it, what I do with my life is a choice. And so as I started exploring that and doing different things and sharing my adventures with friends and family, they were saying, wow, that's really inspiring. That's really great. You do more than I do, and I don't even have a health challenge. So that's when I realized I need to go ahead and create a program. And that's what I'm working on right now, signature program, to help people who've been diagnosed with a chronic ailment, and also for their caregivers, the people who love them and want to support them. Maybe they're not quite sure how to do it. And that's because that person that they love hasn't really processed this is their new reality. And they're going to have to move beyond it mentally, even if they can't physically. So that's where I am right now in terms of my projects.
Okay. In my travels or earlier on as a massage therapist, I was introduced to adaptive golf because I work with golfers. And I don't remember if it was where I live now in Florida, in the west coast of Florida, if it was on the east coast. But I remember at the time, I think it might have been on the east coast, because if I remember correctly, at the time I was working with the state of Florida as a med waiver provider. And a lot of the clients that I got from that had CP, cerebral palsy. And again, like the MS, the symptoms were more advanced than one person, like the spectrum. It ranged from little or nothing to quite a lot. And so I think that's where I was introduced to adaptive golf. I'm not a golfer myself, but I found that the therapy that I've developed actually improves. The golfers have told me it improves their handicap, it improves their game, it allows them to play better golf. So I worked with the state of Florida for about 5 years, and the level of devastation to the person with CP, I had people who were, I remember this one kid, she wasn't a kid, she was in her 40s, but literally they had to lift her up like a kid. She was probably about 50 pounds, if that much. And I could tell you, after working with them for about 4 or 5 years, my heart couldn't take it anymore. But what I have gained from that is how to treat a person who has the disease, how to put together a treatment plan for them. So it would be interesting to take a look at that again and see how or if I could help. In the meantime, I just know a little bit about it. So it's interesting to actually talk to somebody who has been involved with adaptive golf. Is there anything else that you're still doing that you're passionate about physically?
Actually, what I've been working on and building my strength up is just being able to walk. My real goal is to be able to walk without my cane. I think that will be possible. I definitely need the support now. I haven't been as active as I should be because I haven't been able to go outside. So even for me, as positive as I am, I can definitely get in my feelings. I definitely have to be mindful to push myself. So if that means going outside, sitting in the sunshine, getting the vitamin D, walking to the mailbox, it's the little steps to get to the bigger ones. And I even have to be mindful every day and say to myself, what can I do? So the one thing that I would definitely like to do more, and that is something that I'm working on, is walking. Even if it's with the cane and just being able to walk longer, to be able to stand longer, that would definitely give me an increased sense of independence.
What made you get into coaching?
I think it's just naturally my personality. I've always been the person that people come to for advice, regardless of what the topic is. And I think that my time in Japan coaching employees, I had to deal with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different cultural differences. So it allowed me to become more intuitive of people's challenges, what's holding them back. We're absolutely all capable of doing anything we want to do. If we're not doing it, it's either because we're not passionate about it or we're scared that we're not capable. So once I understand that it's more of a mental mindset, then it's taking the time to say, let's work through that, let's get to that point. And it's very satisfying for me to see someone accomplishing or doing something that they thought they couldn't do previously. And it was all on them. It was just them being receptive to looking at things in a different way, processing things in a different way. And that's very satisfying to me.
So one of the things that I want to zone in on is, you know, you talk about grieving the loss of your whole life. How did that affect you, or where are you with that? What do you tell your clients?
It is absolutely a necessary part of the process because our old life is gone. So to act like it's not and push through, I think that's part of the problem our society always has, is pushing down feelings. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel depressed. My thing is, don't stay in that place. Of course you should feel sad. I climb Mount Fuji twice. I get tired walking to the mailbox. It's okay for me to feel sad. It's okay for me to feel sad that I'm not traveling. I was a very avid traveler on my third passport, and now it's a big thing to go to Walmart. I absolutely should grieve that. I should absolutely feel sad. After I feel sad, then I think I'm so grateful I did the things that I did while I could. I'm happy for those memories. Once I do that, I move on to what can I do in my new reality. It might not be as glamorous or as amazing. Actually, it might be more amazing because what I did before was very effortless. I was strong. I was able. There were no problems. So maybe my little wins now mean so much more because I had to work hard for it, because it wasn't easy, because it took time. So I think it's very important, and something that skipped when people are diagnosed. Everybody's like, oh, you're still alive. It'll be okay. It'll get better. No, it's hurting. It's a very hurtful situation. It's devastating. Mourn that loss. Give thanks for the life that you had. Give thanks for the amazing experiences you had. Now let's look forward. What can we do? I don't know if I would have ever picked up golf or learned to play golf if this didn't happen to me. So there's nothing to say that we still can't have new experiences, make new friends, learn new things that we would not have considered before. It's literally a part of growing, and we can't control it, so we might as well enjoy the ride as much as we can.
Yes, that's one of the things we try to emphasize with this podcast, to learn new things or open your horizon, your perspective. But you have a saying that life was either black or white. No, life is great. What do you mean by that?
So I feel like, especially when we're healthy, everybody feels that life is black and white. It's either yes or no, right or wrong. When you are diagnosed with a chronic illness, life becomes a little bit more gray. And by gray, I mean